sick of all those soft and squishy foams and you want something a bit meaty, a bit more gutsy, a bit more firmer underfoot, testing's complete and the scores are in, and this is the full review of the Salomon Aero Glide 3. But before we get into it, if you guys haven't done so already and you want to support the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, so this one is a neutral daily trainer, and you're going to be able to pick it up in Australia for $260 or $160 in the US. Now in the weight, a pretty lightweight package here, especially for a daily trainer. So 247 grams or 8.7 ounces. Now that's in my size, the US 8.5, and in the stack, 40 in the rear, 32 in the front, and that's going to give us a 8mm drop. Now for the scores, I think at 260, I think it's just about right here, considering the build quality and what you get out of the ride of the shoe. I think, yeah, they're not trying to fleece us, and it's definitely above the level of those sort of entry-level daily trainers, so I think it's about right here. And in the weight, to be under 9 ounces or under 250 grams as a daily trainer, I think that's absolutely amazing. Love it. 8.5 out of 10. And in the upper, so the material that they're using here is what they call a 3D mesh. Now, the mesh itself, it's probably quite thick, but the breathability, I'm going to say, is excellent. Solid heel counter at the back here, but a little feature that I didn't really notice in my first impressions review is they got, at the side of the heel counter, they've got like some extra little breathing vents at the side here, sort of similar to what you find in the new Vaporfly 4. So I quite like that there. But yeah, solid heel counter. Probably minimal to a medium amount of padding around the heel collar. So it's certainly, compared to other daily trainers on the market, it's certainly minimal in comparison to the padding on the heel counter. Probably a medium amount of padding on the tongue. The tongue is not gusseted, but it's stitched into the side, so it doesn't move around left or right. The tongue is quite long though, so it looks a bit funny for me. With our lacing system, no eyelets except for right at the top where you can do the runner's knot. But they've got these lace loops through the middle of the shoe. Now, it can get a little bit tricky to get the laces pressure right, because these laces, although they feel top quality, they're quite slippery as they go through these lace loops. So I've had a few little dramas just trying to get the laces pressure right, but you can play around with it enough and you can get it, you can get that fit dialed in eventually. No heel slippage in the back. In the fit though, I think this is a big fit. So I'm going to say it's a little long, it's also very wide, and it's quite roomy. So if you've got a pretty narrow foot, I would definitely suggest coming half size down with this one. Build quality, Salomon, excellent as you would expect, and stepping comfort, it's okay as well. Now for the scores, I think this upper looks great, it's breathable, it's comfortable, it functions well, but I think they just need to dial in the fit just a little bit more and maybe fix up these eyelets with this midfoot lockdown. But apart from that, pretty happy here, 8 out of 10. And in the outsole, so the coverage that they're using here is their Contour grip. Now that Contour grip comes with a great reputation with shoes, excellent in the grip department, excellent in the durability department. Now, can I confirm that? Well, yes, I can. So we do have quite a thick amount of coverage here on the bottom of this shoe, and the wear signs that it is showing in comparison to other shoes that I have got at about the same amount of usage. So this is showing minimal signs of wear. So I can concur that this outsole rubber, really good in the durability department, and also in the grip department as well, it's pretty good. So even on a wet road where it brings most shoes undone, this performs not too bad. It's probably not as good as Puma grip, but it's probably not too far behind it. Now, the design of the outsole, which is one of the things that I also really like in the bottom of this shoe, is just how they've got it covered. So it's very similar to what you're going to find in the Nova Blast. So they've just got the rubber around the outsole, then these really deep cavities so through the rear of the shoe, and then it creates this little like trampoline pod through the middle of the forefoot there. So really like the design there. But overall, okay, so scores wise in the outsole, love what they've done here. It's grippy, it's durable, not too much to dislike, 9 out of 10. And in the midsole, so the foam they're using here is their Energy Evo foam. Now to look at this foam, it's got that pellet look. So very similar looking foam to what you're going to find in Saucony's Power Run PB. It does feel different though on the run, which I'll go into later, but it's probably a little bit firmer than that. But as you can see there, we've got one big slab of that, and we've got some high sidewalls as well, but the foam itself actually feels quite rigid and firm. But no plate in the shoe, rigidity wise, we have got a little bit of flex now. So this shoe has softened up. It's certainly a lot stiffer after my first few runs out of the box, but now, yeah, it's softened up a little bit. Got a good amount of snapback there, as you can see. The twist test, yeah, it's still pretty rigid, twisting it left and right. In the geometry department, I'm going to say early stage rocker, probably not super gentle, but not aggressive either, but you can certainly feel it at those slower paces, which I love. And in the ride, well, if you watch my first impressions review, I did describe the ride as springy, like energetic and responsive. Now, has my opinion changed in the shoe? Well, not really. So it's still got that really energetic, poppy, springy sensation. So it's certainly not a soft shoe, certainly in comparison to the other daily trainers out there on the market. There is a little bit of softness in the shoe, but it depends on where you strike in the shoe to get any sink in the shoe. So you can see that big cavity through. So if you pronate, if you're landing on the sidewalk here, that side will collapse a little bit, but the firmer, the more square on that you land in the shoe, the firmer that it's going to feel, because you're just going to catch both those walls quite flush. So I don't pronate too much. So overall, I've probably found this shoe more on the firmer side, certainly than on the softer side. But yeah, more energetic, poppy, and responsive. So I did say in my first impression review as well, if I had a blindfold on, I would think this is a speed day shoe. Now, I have changed my opinion in that. It definitely lacks the pop and the like the propulsiveness and the explosiveness that I'd want out of a speed day shoe, but it's certainly just another version of a ride that a daily trainer can provide. So if you're sick of all those soft and squishy foams and you want something a bit meaty, a bit more gutsy, a bit more firmer underfoot, you're a bit of one of those heavier runners, and this is obviously what this shoe is going to offer. Now, I'm not too sure what is going on with the shoe, but I have rolled my ankle in this shoe twice, so twice in a week, and I think it is just got to do with these rigid sidewalls. So because the foam, it doesn't have much give in it. So if you catch it, I think I've just stood on a twig a couple of times, or a rock, just wasn't concentrating a little bit, and a softer foam will probably roll on and absorb that twig and I wouldn't roll over, but because the sidewalls are so rigid, if you catch it wrong or you catch a twig, my ankle, yeah, it just went over really, really easily. So that, quite annoying in the shoe, but yeah, it's just another point, or just another thing to consider when you are considering this shoe, especially in the ride, and if you're a sort of a big pronator, that's sort of one thing to watch out. So certainly much more for a neutral runner. But scores wise, so overall, for a training shoe, it's probably a little bit too firm for me. It's certainly not my cup of tea, but I do think heavier runners than me, because I'm quite a light runner, like I'm only just over 60 kilos, so heavier runners are certainly going to get much more out of the foam than I can. I just certainly want a little bit softer ride, a little bit more forgiving ride in my daily trainer. So I haven't absolutely loved the ride, but then again, it's not a bad ride at all. 7 out of 10. And best use, I think it best fits exactly what it's designed for. So daily trainer. So daily miles, also your long runs as well, because it does feel quite efficient on the foot, because there's not much sink, not much bouncing, you're not losing much energy running in the shoe, and I think the geometry of the shoe makes it quite efficient as well. And also, because it's light enough and this foam is responsive enough, if you want to pick up the pace, it's certainly good to go. And who is this shoe best for? So yes, neutral runners, and I'm going to say slightly heavier runners. So you don't have to be like a 100 kilo plus runner to get the most out of this shoe. I think anyone just slightly heavier than me will probably get much more out of the shoe than what I will. So, you know, 70, 80 kilos, I think this shoe is still going to work much better for you than what it will for my little slender frame. So some other options out there if you are considering this shoe. So the first one I'll mention is everybody's favorite daily trainer at the moment, the Adidas Evo SL. So the foam, probably pretty similar feedback to this one. It's probably a little bit softer, a little bit more bounce, but that shoe is more rocketed. And it's also a little bit cheaper than this shoe. The next one I'll mention, if this one's a little bit too firm for you, shoe that I'm currently testing at the moment is the Puma Magnify Nitro 3. So very similar in the price department, a little bit cheaper in Australia. The stack is about the same. The drops are pretty similar, but if this one's a bit too firm, that magnified nitro, a super soft version. Last one I'll mention is, again, very good price point, so $240 or even cheaper. Similar stack height, probably lower drop here, but a super buttery smooth ride, and that is the Tarkine Autopilot. So the Aero Glide 3 cracks into the 40, so that is a really solid score with the way that I score shoes. It's very rare that a shoe cracks into the 40s for me that I didn't absolutely love the ride. So this ride's okay, but I didn't love it. So for it to be into the 40s, I'm surprised by that, but it just shows to me that it's got so many other good qualities about the shoe that really elevate it above its competitors. So yeah, it really is a solid shoe, solid daily trainer, lightweight, build quality excellent. It's just, yeah, the ride for a daily trainer for me, it's just not my cup of tea. Not bad at all, but just not my cup of tea, but I know it will appeal to a lot of runners out there. So yeah, if you are in the market for a daily trainer that is just not soft and squishy, you want something a little bit more solid underfoot, I think this is a great option for you guys. But anyway, guys, that's it for me. Any questions you've got regarding this shoe, how it relates to anything else, hit me up in the comments. Don't forget to hang around and watch the runner leaderboard after this finishes. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.